and welcome to this very short video introduction. My name is Gary Duffield and I'm the head of vendor partnerships here at Lumify. One of the partnerships I actually manage is with an organization called the SFIA organization. And today we're going to meet Paul Collins, who we've also partnered with recently from SkillsTX, really to help organizations understand the value that both our organizations can bring in SFIA type engagements. Before I introduce Paul, I just wanted to do a very quick introduction of SFIA. Now, this session isn't about what SFIA is. We're assuming at this point you already know where SFIA sits or may sit in your organization. But for those who may not, SFIA is not a training needs analysis tool. A lot of people assume that it is. It's actually a framework, if you like, for describing and managing skills and competencies for professionals working in ICT. Think of it as sort of a common language for describing skills and competencies, sort of the XML for competencies in the digital world. Now, I'm delighted to say that Lumify is now a SFIA partner. We're actually a mapping partner. This is for organizations who have the ability and the skills to map qualifications, certifications, or training courses into the SFIA framework. And if you think about that, if you know Lumify, you'll know we have a very extensive network of training courses from Microsoft, AWS, Google, through to ITIL, project management, agile change management. We can help organizations map those courses into their SFIA implementations from a skills management point of view. But that is a very small part of the SFIA story. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce Paul Collins, just do a very quick introduction of his organization, and then perhaps Paul will pick up a scenario and talk about how SFIA may be implemented in a government organization or in an enterprise type business.
Yeah, so just picking up really, we are a SFIA partner as well, a global partner. SkillsTX is a SaaS platform for managing the talent, digital talent within an organization. And obviously a very important part of that is upskilling talents to meet the demands of the organization. And of course, that's where Lumify come in. And really what we try to do at a very sort of macro level is join the dots. So we start with, what skills do you have as an individual, as an organization? What skills do you need, both now and future? And then what do you do to bridge the gaps between those two data sets? And that's where this mapping partner thing comes in that Gary's just mentioned, where we map the available upskilling options from Lumify, and we can immediately signpost that to people that need that particular skill.
We've partnered with you guys, obviously, for a whole heap of reasons, one of which is your access to the platform that you guys have actually spent a lot of time, effort, and money actually putting in place. Can you give me sort of a 30-second overview as to where that might sit in an organization? And then we'll perhaps dive into an organization in more detail in terms of mapping and SFIA.
We come at it from the point of view of employee experience, to be honest, as a starting point. And then there's lots of benefits flow from that. So in terms of a classic, so let's take a scenario. So we work with governments, particularly in Australia. Just out of interest, Australia and New Zealand have got a countrywide license for SFIA. So of course, they've clearly seen the need for consistent language.
I think my understanding is that means government organizations can use a SFIA framework without charge. Is that correct?
Gets better than that. Any organization within Australia can use it without charge.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a country license, not just a government one. I'm not too sure about New Zealand, so I'll be a little cautious there.
It applies to New Zealand, actually. So
yeah, well, there you go.
Across ANZ, SFIA is basically, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, that's right. And from my point of view, so where do we sit in an organization? We bring SFIA to life. I mean, it's a framework, it's lots of words, it's a download, it's a PDF, it's, a spreadsheet. But in order to get value from that, if you documented the skills of your workforce in a spreadsheet, it's going to be out of date like the second you've done it. So when we get involved in an organization, we really sit in that, and it's a very broad school these days, where the digital professionals are, and we do the deep dive into the skills that they have and what are required. And as we know, in a digital world, that changes very quickly. So we often work alongside a learning management system or the training providers, and we certainly integrate into the likes of the general HR systems, but we're the ones that really focus in on that digital group of people who are pretty important these days in most organizations. And governments, of course, as well.
Obviously about training courses. I mean, it's a happy byproduct that you're able to map training courses against it. So if I was thinking about an ICT department, let's say inside a government organization, Sofia will have a range of competencies, as most people watching this will be aware of, that you can map against. And I think what Lumify wants to bring to this party is to say, okay, you've identified these individuals of this department sit here in order to move them further up the food chain, or perhaps to look for an hour or a spare type scenario. Here are some courses that map into this framework, which might take you on that journey. Is that a fair assessment?
That's exactly it. And, if we look at it from an individual point of view, and then, aggregate that across a team or an organization. So we come at it from an individual point of view. They will have skills, and those skills, from our point of view, are not directly related to the work they're doing at that point in time. They have skills that they've acquired over their career. So that's one aspect. Then there's a requirement. Those requirements we can document as skills. What is it you need to be able to do to perform your role successfully in this organization? And better than that, what are the skills you need to go to the next role that might be something you're interested in? It could be a job family, it could be a complete pivot. But once you put that together, as I said, we end up with this delta, which is, these are the skills I have, but there's always a gap because they just moves too quickly these days. And the last thing we want to do is leave people high and dry with, hey, you have a lot of gaps, thank you very much. And that's where you guys come in, and that's why we work with yourselves to say, well, if you've got something that's going to help address those gaps, so we're a little bit like training needs analysis, I guess, but it really is down at that individual level. Oh, look, I've got a requirement to be better at problem management. Oh, there happens to be something that Lumify offer that will help me with that, and we just put that in front of them. So, and of course, at a larger scale, that can be really good from an economies of scale point of view, that it might be, let's put the team through a program because they all need this particular skill, or organization wide, let's go talk to the folks at Lumify and let's put some programs together to address the big issue that we've got because we're moving to cloud or we're doing digital transformation.
And that really kind of sets a level. And that also works, I guess, for recruitment. When you need to bring new people into an organization, you can assess them against what is defined as normal for that particular role inside that particular organization.
Absolutely. And contractors likewise, we've got these 4 concepts of the different options you have when you identify skill gaps. And the one that we're discussing here, which is really the most prominent, is upskilling. We call it building. So skill building within the existing cohort. But then, if you can't do that quick enough, then you fall into, okay, what about buying skills, which is recruitment? What about borrowing skills, which is contractors? And the one now that is proving really quite powerful is mobilizing skills. So forget about your job title. I don't care whether you're a BA or a project manager or a DevOps engineer. If you've got a particular skill and we need it now, then let's just move that skill to where it's needed. And the other thing I think just worth pointing out here, without getting too nuanced about this, but again, it's really relevant to the mapping aspects that we've been discussing. Certainly the way that we implement Sofia in an organization is not to see a skill as a binary choice. It's not, I don't have, now I do have, because that's just not how the world works. When we get involved with organizations such as Lumify, we start helping people move on that journey from, I now have knowledge of the skill because I went through a training course, and your training goes deeper than that and probably takes people to proficiency where they've actually got their hands dirty a little bit. And then ultimately through practice, they become competent. And, that is a good reflection of what really happens.
That's the beauty of this partnership, really, in terms of, and I mean, a partnership with yourself as well as almost the Australian and New Zealand market. If you're looking at Sofia, then we can obviously bring the skills/courses that will take you on that journey. But because we're a training services business, one of the things that we're doing right now is helping organizations find people with cyber skills. And part of that process is actually doing a deep dive of their actual ability. So testing them for their penetration testing skills, testing them for their acknowledgement of how to spot a denial of service attack. Those are very hands-on tests. So that's not something you'd measure in something like Sofia, but it feeds very directly back into Sofia. And then clearly the courses in cyber that that we have in our portfolio would also map into SFIA. So I just see this as being a sort of, it's almost a beautiful union of competencies and training and individuals and organizations ultimately achieving their aims from a skilling perspective.
Absolutely. And of course, one of the things that we were just chatting about earlier is, everyone wants to use their budgets wisely, even more these days. We're reading the press, we know about inflation and all the other things. To give people an opportunity to focus their time and attention on the services, for example, that you guys are offering, and know that it's going to make an immediate difference, really gives organizations, that edge, because, we've not got the opportunity for people to just, wander around picking up skills just because they feel like it. We've got to be a bit more focused than that these days.
Sadly, the days where everybody got a $4,000 or $5,000 budget every year for training, I think, are long since gone. There's a little bit more strategy required now when it comes to buying training, and at an organizational level, then SFIA can obviously help drive that strategy. And I think from a partnership point of view, what is our next actions from here? Really, if you'd like to have a conversation about SFIA, we would be delighted to have that. I'll involve Paul, get in touch with your Lumify account manager. I'll happily jump on any meetings, really to talk about what SFIA is, how we can help you, how we can help map our courses, and also other learning that, you may not get through Lumify. Then we can also work to actually bring some of that into an organization. Paul, I think you've done a stunningly good job at really taking a subject which is potentially very complex, lots of moving pieces, and actually summarizing it beautifully. I'm going to put you on the spot as your parting words. If you had to give me sort of the value proposition for SFIA, the kind of elevator conversation, the kind of things, you've got a few red wines in a pub you might randomly speak to somebody about, what's the SFIA value prop for an organization today?
I'm going to just go a little bit beyond the elevator pitch there, but I will start with something that is just obvious. It's a common language, and if we speak the same language, good things happen. So consistency is a really, really big part of the value proposition, and that translates into retention, engagement, people seeing the future in a very practical sense with an organization. The other thing, and this is a little bit, I had this the other day, and I'm a little bit controversial with this, it actually helps people understand what, and I was almost going to swear then, and I won't, that you ask somebody about skills, and I immediately realize that we don't even know what a skill is in some cases. So, and I'll just leave you with one tiny little example, which is quite subtle. But in the world currently, I see a job advert. It will say we want a JavaScript programmer, as an example. In the world of SFIA, we'll ask for a programmer with JavaScript. Now, that might sound, is that not the same thing? It is not the same thing at all. We shouldn't lead with the technology. That'd be like saying I need somebody that can use a particular power tool on a building site, rather than say what I actually need is a carpenter, and the power tool is the secondary piece. So that's another really powerful thing that opens the eyes of a lot of our clients. So not just a common language, but truly understanding what a skill is.
Really thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right. One of the things that I sometimes do is I go look at Seek for SFIA, and you'll find exactly what you've just described. They're not putting the hammer first.
That's right. They'll talk about the skill. And to be perfectly honest, that's how it should be. Technology is important. We need to know it. Absolutely. But we need to know what the skill is before we know what the technology is, not the other way around.
An interesting way to look at it. Could we do another ride, another elevator soon? Well, we probably will. Maybe we'll do another one of these videos. But I did want to thank you for your time. And as I said, the call to action from this, if you'd like to know more about SFIA, Lumify would certainly like, along with SkillsTX, to take you on that journey. Thank you so very much for watching.